Welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into No Respawn, Safe Zone, False Hope. We're jumping right into the intense emotional whiplash of Chapter 3, picking up literally exactly where the terror left off. Picture this. You're standing under a sky filled with blinking crimson eyes. Just imagine the unbearable weight of being watched by the heavens themselves. And then you hear it, a sound that shakes the very foundation of the world. A deep, resounding bell that just echoes all around you. The howls of the monsters instantly vanish, and the boys are just left standing there in this eerie, paralyzing silence. Then, as that massive, terrifying grief collector takes a reluctant step back and completely dissolves into the red fog, a glowing blue system window pops up right in front of them. It gives them this fleeting, totally deceptive sense of relief. It reads, "Tutorial event complete." For just a fraction of a second, the five boys feel like, hey, they might actually have a chance here. They survived the 10 minutes, the objective is officially cleared. But, as you might guess, Arjun isn't buying this sudden reprieve at all. While the rest of the group is just trying to process the fact that they're still breathing, Arjun realizes something way more sinister. He looks at the others, and his voice drops to a literal whisper. He says, "It wanted us alive." Think about the terrifying implication there for a second. The monster wasn't defeated, it was called off. The game has a very specific plan for them, and surviving that tutorial, that was really just the price of admission to a much darker nightmare. And that brings us to part 1, surviving the tutorial, the eerie journey. So with the total silence of the monster's departure still ringing in their ears, this glowing arrow materializes right in midair. They really have no choice but to follow this beacon. It's pointing directly toward the ruined city. Sure, they're leaving the immediate threat of the grief collector behind, but they are walking straight into an environment that just completely defies all logic and sanity. Seriously, every single step they take towards safety is just soaked in tension. They're navigating these impossible streets. We're talking doors to empty buildings creaking open and slamming shut completely on their own. Statues, cold stone statues, literally turning their heads to watch the boys whenever they look away. Imagine the sheer psychological horror of walking down a street where the cracked pavement is actually pulsing beneath your feet like a giant heartbeat. And the deeper they go into the city, the quieter it gets, until even the unsettling whispers beneath the ground completely vanish. Which leads us in to part 2, the illusion of haven, civilization found. Out of absolutely nowhere, this massive stone wall, covered in glowing ancient symbols, rises up in front of them. As they get closer, the heavy gates open all by themselves, and warm light just spills out onto these dead streets. And for the first time since entering this whole nightmare, they hear something completely impossible: human laughter. Inside, they actually find a small, bustling town. This is such a brilliant subversion of what we just experienced. The contrast here is utterly jarring. On the outside, you have this world of pulsing pavement, turning statues, and literal cosmic horrors. But on the inside, you've got wooden houses, stone wells, market stalls. People are just chatting around campfires, and there are actually children running through the streets laughing. A weathered sign even designates it as the Haven Safe Zone. It's basically this oasis of complete normalcy sitting right in the middle of a literal hell. But of course, that feeling of safety evaporates almost immediately. As Kabir and Samir excitedly realize they've actually found civilization, the townsfolk turn to look at them. And their reaction? It is definitely not welcoming. It's pure dread. This one old woman is so shocked she literally drops her basket. You can hear whispers rippling through the crowd calling them new players and lamenting that, children won't last. The unease settles right back in. The boys aren't viewed as survivors to be saved. The townsfolk view them as the next tragedy. And that sets the perfect stage for part 3, the tragedy of time, meeting Elias. Pushing through this crowd of horrified onlookers, a tall man approaches. This is Elias. He's got silver hair and physically looks about 30 years old. But his eyes are just exhausted. They look like they belong to someone centuries old. He asks if they came from Earth, and when Arjun confirms it, Elias just offers this incredibly sad smile and simply says, "So did I." And then Elias drops a massive bombshell. He looks up at that frozen sky and tells the boys exactly how long he has been trapped in this game. 34 years. Just let that sink in for a moment. 34 long, grueling years trapped inside this nightmare, just waiting in the Haven Safe Zone. But here is the true psychological gut punch of this whole scenario. When the boys express shock, because remember, the developer said time was stopped, Elias confirms the horrific reality of time dilation. While he has aged decades, fought for his life, and suffered for 34 years, only one single second has actually passed back on Earth. Their families are still frozen at exactly 6:17 p.m., waiting forever, as if the boys had never even left. Rohan, feeling absolutely sick to his stomach at this point, asks if there is really no way home. Elias can't even bring himself to look Rohan in the eye. He tells them that over his time here, he has watched over 2,000 players arrive at this safe zone. And out of all those thousands of people, he has never seen a single one leave. The absolute despair of Haven is that it operates way less like a sanctuary and a lot more like an inescapable waiting room. This leads directly into our final act, Part 4, A King Awakens, the catalyst. Suddenly, the marketplace goes completely dead silent. Nobody even dares to speak. Out of the crowd, an 8-year-old girl walks right up to Arjun. She has this warm, totally innocent smile on her face, which completely contrasts with the grim reality they were all just handed. The sequence that follows happens in an absolute blur, but it changes everything. The little girl offers him a tiny carved wooden flower with a really warm welcome. Arjun hesitates for a second, clearly unsure about the whole thing, but he finally reaches out and accepts it. And the very second the wood touches his skin, the flower just turns to black ash. It completely withers and crumbles right there in the palm of his hand. The little girl's smile vanishes instantly. She slowly backs away from him, her face twisting into just pure horror. She looks at Arjun and whispers, "No, it chose you." The entire town freezes. Every single survivor in Haven is just staring at that black ash. Even Elias, the hardened 34-year veteran, turns completely pale. The fundamental rules of their supposed sanctuary have just been broken. Before Arjun can even ask what that means, the illusion of safety is shattered entirely. A thunderous, absolutely deafening alarm echoes across Haven. Blinding, pulsing red light floods the wooden streets. Panic erupts instantly. People are screaming, parents are desperately grabbing their kids, and the town soldiers are just sprinting toward the stone walls. And then, flashing right before every single survivor in the town, is a glaring blue system warning. World event detected. A king has awakened. Location, Haven Safe Zone. Listen, this isn't just a monster attack. This is an apocalyptic shift in the narrative. The absolute highest tier of nightmare has just set its sights right on them. Right beneath that terrifying announcement is a timer counting down from 10 minutes. Take a second to realize what this actually means. Every survivor is staring at this clock, knowing their unbreakable haven is about to be breached, and they have literally nowhere to run. In exactly 9 minutes and 59 seconds, whatever this king is, it's going to arrive. Arjun looks at Elias in total disbelief, yelling that he thought this was a safe zone. Elias just forces a bitter, totally resigned smile. He slowly draws his sword, its blade covered in these glowing cracks of energy, and he looks Arjun dead in the eyes. The game just changed the rules. Their entire existence in this sanctuary was basically a trap, just waiting for the right player to come along and spring it. Far beyond the city walls, a single, colossal horn echoes across the dead world. One note, but it's deep enough to physically shake the heavens. Every single survivor in Haven drops to their knees, not from fear, but from a primal, undeniable instinct. Because whatever just answered that horn is no ordinary monster. It's one of the 7 kings, and it is coming specifically for the new players. So the question we are left with, as the countdown ticks closer to 0, is this. When a colossal horn shakes the heavens and brings seasoned veterans to their knees, how do you possibly survive a king?